Hello students, let's see the continuation of chapter 7 Python functions. First let us see about scope of the variables. So what do you mean by scope? I have already explained about scope in third chapter. Refer that video for more details about scope, okay? So scope is what? Scope is nothing but visibility of a program, which means lifetime of a program. If you are declaring a variable in a program, where you can access that variable, where you can see that variable, where you can use that variable, that is called scope, okay? Which means area where you can see, where you can refer, where you can access that variable, that is called scope of a variable, okay? So we can say that scope holds the current set of variables and their values, okay? In third chapter, you have studied 4 types of scopes. But in this chapter, only 2 types of scopes are given. Okay. What are they? Local scope and global scope. Let us see that. Okay. What do you mean by local scope? You already know that a variable declared inside function body, that is called local scope. Which means a variable is defined within the current function is called local scope. So see the rules of local variable. A variable with local scope can be accessed only within the function, only within the block that it is created in. Which means a variable that you created within the function, then that variable is called a local variable. You cannot access the local variable outside of the function. When a variable is created inside the function, that variable becomes local to it. So, if you are creating a variable within the function, that variable is called what? Local variable. A local variable only exists while the function is executing, which means the local variable is only available within the function. You cannot access that variable outside, okay? The format arguments are also local to function, which means the argument that you are passing to the variables are also local to its function, okay? And see one example how to create local variable. Here def is a keyword, loc is a function name, and in the function body one variable is created, that is y is equal to 0. Y is a local variable, okay? Next print y. So after that function call, you are calling the function loc. So for this code you will get the output 0. Because the local variable is defined within the function, okay? So you will get the output 0. And see the next example, accessing local variable outside the scope. We already know that you cannot access local variable outside of the scope. Okay, so see this example. Here this is the local scope and this print y is the global scope. Here you are accessing the local variable y in the global scope. You cannot access the local variable outside of the function, okay? So you will get the error message. You will not get any output, okay? Because when you are declaring a variable in local scope, you cannot access it from the global scope, okay? So this is about local scope. Next let us see about global scope. What do you mean by global scope? A variable with a global scope can be used anywhere in the program. It can be created by defining a variable outside the scope of any function or block. You can access the local variable within this block only, okay? But you can access the global variable anywhere in the program, inside and outside of all the functions in a program, okay? So let's see the rules of global scope. When we define a variable outside a function, it's global by default. You don't have to use global keyword. Which means when you are declaring a variable in outside of the function, by default it is called global variable. You don't have to use global keyword for that, okay? And we use global keyword to read and write a global variable inside a function. So you have to use global keyword to read and write global variable inside the function. Use of global keyword outside a function has no effect. which means if you are creating a variable outside of the function, you don't have to use global keyword. But if you want to access that variable inside of the function, you have to use global keyword. Okay. Let us see one example. Accessing global variable from inside a function. Here global variable is what? C. C is equal to 1. C is the global variable. And next local scope. Def add is a function name. Within the function body, print statement is given. Next function call is given, that is add. See here within the print statement, C is given, that is global variable. Here the global variable C is declared in outside of the function, but you can access that variable inside also, because we can access the global variable inside and outside of all functions in a program. Okay, everywhere in the program. So you will get the output for this code 1. And see the next example, modifying global variable from inside the function. In this code, see the function body, C is equal to C plus 2. C is the global variable. It is declared in the outside of the function, but inside the function body, C is equal to C plus 2 is given, which means increment C by 2. And next print C, next calling add function. For this code, you will get the output error message, because we can access the global variable inside the function, which means in local scope, but we cannot modify the global variable inside the local scope without using global keyword. So it will show the error message. Without using global keyword, we cannot modify the global variable inside the function. We can access the global variable inside the function also, but we cannot modify the global variable inside the local scope without using global keyword. So see next example. Here X is a global variable and next local scope, that is def add. If you want to modify the global variable inside the local scope, then you have to use the global keyword to that variable. Okay, so global X. Next X equal to X plus 5, which means if you want to modify the global variable value within this local scope, you have to use global keyword. Okay, see next print inside add function X value is X, and next calling function add, next print in main X value is X. So here in the output screen you will get the output. Inside add function X value is what? Inside the X value is incremented, that is X is equal to X plus 5. X value is what? 0. 0 plus 5 means 5. So inside add function X value is 5. The main X value is what now? 5. Because global keyword is used for X and we increment the variable X by 5. So now we can see the change on the global variable X outside the function. Okay, so the value is what? 5. Next let us see about global and local variables. One example is given. Here first X is equal to 8. It is a global variable. And next def loc is a function name. And global X means what? Global is a keyword. So keyword is added to X. So we can modify the global variable within the local scope. Okay, because global keyword is used here. And next variable is what? Y. Y is a local variable. Y is equal to local. And next increment is given, that is X is equal to X into 2. Next print X, print Y. Next function call. Okay, look. Here first print X will be executed, that is X equal to X into 2. X value is what? See the global variable 8. So 8 into 2, 16. So you will get the output first 16. And next print Y. When you are executing this statement, it prints the string from the Y variable, that is local variable. Okay, so Y is equal to what? Local. So it prints local in the output screen. So you will get the output like this. And one more thing, you can use the same name to local and global variable. Okay, see one example. Here X is equal to 5 given, that is X variable is defined outside the function. so it is global variable. And the next local scope, that is x variable is given also. This is one x, this is another one x. Okay, here x is equal to 10, this is local variable, and print local x. Next calling function log, next print global x. So when you are executing this print statement, it will print local x value is what? Local x value is what? 10. Okay, so local x is equal to 10. And when you are executing this print statement, global x is equal to x value is what? Global variable what? X is equal to 5. So global x is equal to 5. So you will get the output like this. So this is about scope of the variables. Next, let us see about functions using libraries. Two types of library functions are there. What are they? Built-in and mathematical functions. First, let us see about built-in functions. Some of the built-in functions and descriptions, index, example is given. So let us see them one by one. First, abs function. Abs means what? Absolute. It returns an absolute value of a number. The argument may be an integer or a floating point number. Okay, this index is abs x. In the example, x equal to 20, y is equal to minus 23.2 is given, and print x equal to abs of x and print y is equal to abs of y. So what is the use of absolute function? It returns absolute value. Absolute value means what? It removes minus sign from the number. Okay, which means if you are giving positive value, it will display positive value. If you are giving negative value, it removes that negative sign from that value and displays that positive value. Okay, so print x equal to abs x means what? X equal to 20 and y is equal to minus 23.2 is given. So it removes minus sign, so you will get 23.2. Okay, so next, odd function. It returns ASCII value for the given Unicode character. This function is inverse of character function, which means all the lowercase letters, all the uppercase letters, punctuation symbols are called Unicode characters. Okay, so when you are giving any alphabet, this odd function returns the ASCII value of that character. Okay, its index is odd of C. C means character. See here, one example is given. C is equal to A, D is equal to A. Lowercase a and uppercase a. Okay. Here C and D are the variables. Okay. When you are printing C is equal to odd, C means what? C is equal to 97. This is the ASCII value of lowercase a. And next, A is equal to 65. The 65 is the ASCII value of capital letter A. Okay, this function is inverse of character function, which means it returns the ASCII value for Unicode character, but character function returns the Unicode character for the given ASCII value. So this is the inverse of odd function. Okay, its syntax is character of I. Here C is equal to 65 and D is equal to 43 is given. So what is the Unicode character of 65 number? A. And what is the Unicode character of 43 plus? Okay, it will be printed on the output screen. And next, binary. This binary function returns binary string prefixed with 0b for the given integer number. Okay, which means binary. You can use format function also for this purpose. Okay. So what is the syntax of binary function? Bin of I. Okay. And the next example is given. X is equal to 15, y is equal to 101. Print 15 in binary. You have to change this 15 into binary form. And next print 101 in binary. You have to change this 101 in the binary form. But before that, you have to add prefix value, that is 0b. Okay, so this is the output. And next, type function. It returns the type of object for the given single object. So its syntax is type object. See the example. x equal to 15.2, y is equal to a, and s equal to true. And next, print type x, print type y, print type s. Here values are given. You have to specify that values belongs to which type of data. That is the output. Okay. First see x equal to 15.2. This is the fractional number, floating point number. So this number belongs to which type of data? Float. So here write float. And next, y is equal to a. This is string type of data. So str. And next, true. True means what? It is the Boolean data type. Okay. Boolean data type only returns either true or false. So it belongs to Boolean type data. Okay. Next, id. id function returns the identity of an object, which means address of object in memory. Okay. If you are giving a variable x or y, that variable is stored in the memory. Okay. When you are calling this id function, you will get the address of that variable from the memory. The syntax of this id function is id object, and see the example, x equal to 15, y is equal to a. Print address of x is id of x, print address of y is id of y. So address of x is this, x is equal to 5 is stored in this address. Okay. This y is equal to a is stored in this address. Okay. The address will be displayed on the output screen when you are calling this id function. And the next, min function, it returns the minimum value in a list. If you are giving some values in a list, it returns minimum value in that list. So syntax is min list. Example is, my list is equal to 21, 76, 98, 23. Here, print minimum of my list. Minimum of my list. Here, output minimum of my list. It will display the minimum value of the given list. Okay, what is that? 21. And the next, max function, it returns the maximum value in a list. The syntax is max list, and list of numbers is given here. It will display maximum value of this list. What is that? 98. And the next, sum function, it returns the sum of the values in a list. Its syntax is sum list. My list is equal to 21, 76, 98, 23. What is the use of sum function? It returns the sum of the values in a list. So 21 plus 76 plus 98 plus 23 is equal to what? 218. So it will be displayed on the output screen. And the next, format function, it returns output based on the given format. First one is binary format, and next actual format, and next fixed point notation. Binary number base is 2, actual number base is 8, and fixed point notation, its default precision is 6. And see the syntax, format value, format spec. See the example, x equal to 14, y is equal to 25. Print x value in binary. Here you have to print the x value in binary format. X value is what? 14. So its binary value is 1110. And print y value in octal. Here you have to print the y value 25 in the octal format. So here the octal format of 25 is what? 31. And next, print y value in fixed point number, which means the default precision is what? 6. So you have to write 25. After decimal point, you have to write 60. Okay. So this is the output. Next, round function. It returns the nearest integer to its output. Okay. It returns nearest integer value. See the first point, first argument, which means number is used to specify the value to be rounded. So it finds the nearest value. So x is equal to 17.9. What is the nearest value of this? 18. Okay. And y is 22.2. Nearest value is what? 22. And z is equal to minus 18.3. Here what is the integer value? Nearest integer value? Minus 18. Okay. So it will be printed on the output screen. And next second point, second argument is used to specify the number of decimal digits decided after rounding. So after rounding you have to add decimal digits. For that here n1 is equal to 17.89 is given. In the next line, print round n1 comma 0 means what? The number of decimal digits that you have to add after decimal point, okay, that is 0. And the next 1 means you have to add one decimal value after decimal point. And n1 2 means you have to add 2 decimal value after decimal point, okay. So here first 18 and next 17.9 and next 17.89. And the next power function, it returns the computation of a raised to the power of b, okay, to find the power of the given number. So syntax is power of a comma b. Example, a is equal to 5, b is equal to 2, c is equal to 3.0, and print power of a comma b. Now you have to find out the power of a comma b, which means a power b. A means not 5, b means 2. So 5 power 2 means 25. So you will get the output 25. Next power of a comma c. A means what? 5. C means 3. So a power 3. So you will get the output 125. And next a plus b comma 3. A plus b means what? 5 plus 2, that is 7. 7 power 3, 343. Okay, so you will get the output like this. So this is about built-in functions. Next let us see about mathematical functions. First function is floor function. It returns the largest integer less than or equal to x. Its syntax is math floor of x. Here a floating point number is given. You have to find the nearest integer value of that number, but that number should be less than the given number. Okay, see here x is equal to 26.7 is given. Here you have to take the nearest integer value. Nearest integer values are what? 26 and 27. But that number should be less than this number. Okay, 27 is greater than this number. So 26 is the nearest number and less than the given x value. Okay, so it will be printed on the output screen, that is 26. And next say y is equal to minus 26.7. Here the nearest integer values are what? Minus 26, minus 27. Which one is greater? Minus 26. So you have to take less value. Okay, so minus 27 is the answer. Next z is equal to minus 23.2. Nearest integer values are what? Minus 23 and minus 24. Minus 23 and minus 24, which one is greater? Minus 23. So you have to take less value, that is minus 24. Okay, so this is the output. In the floor function, you have to find the nearest integer value that should be less than the given value. Okay, and next ceil function, it returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to x. Its syntax is mad ceil of x. Here also you have to find the nearest integer value of the given number and that value should be greater than the given number. Okay, in floor function you have to find the nearest value of the given number and it should be less than the given number, but in ceil function you have to find the nearest value of the given number and it should be greater than that number. Okay, so see here x is equal to 26.7. Nearest integer value is what? 26 and 27. Which one is greater? 27. So it will be printed on the output screen. And the next y is equal to minus 26.7. Nearest integer values are what? Minus 26 and minus 27. So minus 26 and minus 27. In these numbers, which one is greater? Minus 26. So it will be printed on the output screen. And the next is z equal to minus 23.2. So nearest integer values are what? Minus 23 and minus 24. So which one is greater? Minus 23. So it will be printed on the output screen. Okay. And next square root function, sqrt function. Okay, it returns the square root of the given number. So its syntax is sqrt of x. A is equal to 30. Its square root is what? It will be printed on the output screen. See here. And b is equal to 49. What is the square root of 49? 7. And c is equal to 25.5. What is the square root of 25.5? See here. This is the square root of 25.5. Okay. So this is about built-in and mathematical functions. Okay. And next let us see about composition in functions. What do you mean by composition in functions? The value written by a function may be used as an argument for another function in nested manner. This is called composition. For example, if a user giving an input and getting an output, which means getting a written value, okay, if that value may be used as an argument for another function in nested manner, so this is called composition. Okay, if you want to take a value from another one function, then it is called composition of function. Okay, which means if you want to get an expression or an input from the user, you can use input function, and to evaluate that value you can use evaluate function. Okay, so let's see one example. In this example, n1 is a variable. Here we are taking this value from the user and evaluating this function using evaluate function. Evaluate input, enter the number. In the output screen you have to enter the number 234. It will be printed on the output screen, that is 234. This is the example for taking value from the user. See next example. In this example we are taking an expression from the user. Okay, so n2 is a variable. You are taking arithmetic expression. So evaluate input, enter an arithmetic expression. Enter an arithmetic expression. You have to enter that arithmetic expression. Okay, 12.0 plus 13.0 into 2. So when you print n2, it will be printed on the output screen, that is 38. That is the value. So next let us see the last topic, Python recursive functions. What do you mean by recursive function? When a function calls itself is known as recursion. When a function calls itself is known as what? Recursion function. It works like a loop, but sometimes it makes more sense to use recursion than loop. So it looks like loop, but sometimes this recursion is more better than the loop. Okay, and you can convert any loop to recursion. Okay, a recursive function calls itself. Imagine a process would iterate indefinitely if not stopped by some condition. Such a process is known as infinite iteration, which means if you want to execute a process repeatedly again and again, you have to give the condition. Based on that condition, it will be executed again and again repeatedly. Okay, if a condition is satisfied, then the execution will stop. But if you are not giving condition to stop, the process is executed indefinitely. Okay, so that is called infinite iteration. If you are giving condition in the recursive function, that condition is also called as base condition. You must give the base condition in every recursive function, otherwise it will continue to execute like an infinite loop. Okay, it will not stop, it will be executed continuously. Okay, so you have to give base condition here. Okay, so let's see how the recursive function works. Recursive function is called by some external code. So we are calling the recursive function by external code. If the base condition is met, then the program gives the meaningful output and exits. Okay, if the condition is satisfied, the program gives the output and exits. Okay, otherwise function does some required processing and then calls itself to continue recursion. Okay, which means if you are not giving stop condition, which means base condition, it will be executed continuously. Okay, it will not stop continuously, it calls itself Okay, so let's see one example. Here the example is given, the find out the factorial of the given number. Def fact of n, if else condition is given. If n is equal to 0, return 1, else return n into fact of n minus 1. And next print statement, fact 0 and fact 5. First you have to pass value 0 to n. Okay, so 0 is equal to 0, true. If this condition is true, then return 1. Okay, so this one will be printed on the output screen. Next, fact 5. So this n is equal to 5. So 5 is equal to 0. No, this condition is false. So you have to execute else part, that is n into fact n minus 1. So what is the value of n now? 5. 5 into fact n minus 1 means 5 minus 1. So n into fact of 4, that is 24. So 5 into 24, 120. So you will get the output like this. Okay, so if you are giving print fact 2000 instead of print fact 5, it will give runtime error. Okay, because Python stops calling recursive function after 1000 calls by default. Okay, so if you are giving above 1000 value, it will be displays runtime error. Okay, so in Python the recursive function stops calling recursive function after 1000 calls by default. So this is about recursive function. I hope you understand. Thank you, students.